This is NR2003 Predicts. Using constantly updating ratings, we determine where Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series drivers will place at any given track any given week. Standard disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only, using the process of automated intelligence, and should not be used in the process of gambling. So here's how it works. We update drivers' ratings week by week as we go throughout the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series schedule. We run a 100% simulation with normal tire wear and fuel consumption. Qualifying results match what the drivers actually ran in real life. Because qualifying data can't be arranged at the same time as forcing cautions, stages will not be enforced throughout these races. And weather used reflects the real-time data based on the actual start time of the race. There was a threat of rain in the Xfinity race yesterday, but today it's all blue skies. Green flag flies here at Las Vegas. Kevin Harvick leads the field. Harvick, the defending race winner, trying to see if he can make it 2 in a row in the spring. Kyle Busch, who's won both of the races in this weekend, trying to see if he can go for the sweep. He tries to fight on the inside of his teammate Denny Hamlin, already a winner this season in the Daytona 500. As the inside line gets the good run. This new aero package, a little bit different than it was at Atlanta. That we got the tapered spacers on him now. Gonna see if the drafting is just a little bit more significant. Kevin Harvick leads the first lap. Brad Keselowski also trying to work his way up here. Not a great day for Team Penske on the qualifying front. Keselowski is the defending winner of the racetrack. We said Harvick was the race defending winner. Keselowski won the last race at the track in the playoffs. Kyle Larson trying to catch the 2-car breakaway of Harvick and Busch. And you can see just right here, when those cars go side by side, the draft effect gets a big suction as the 42 gets right up to the 18's bumper. Now Larson's going to see if he can try to lead this one, as Busch is going to be able to make the pass to the lead. Austin Dillon starting to slip back a little bit. We saw a lot of speed out of the RCR cars. You can see Hemrick, his teammate, right in front of him. But these guys are just not showing it in race trim. A little bit surprising. We had a lot of expectations for both of these two cars going into the race. And looks like they're fading back a little bit. David Reagan, a little bit one of the bigger surprises. He had a great qualifying effort. Started in 6th place. You can see he's starting to go to the inside of Hemrick. Just seems like this new aero package is being a little bit of that equalizer, as it has been mentioned. Now we see Larson trying to make a little bit of a move to the inside of Busch. He's got the draft help from the 2 cars behind him, Harvick and Keselowski. And the 42 will push to the lead. Larson's doing all right in the standings right now, trying to see if he can get the victory and break that winless drought. William Byron having a little bit of problems early in this race. You can see he's not where you would expect a Hendrick car to be. And there's a big crash right in front of him. Multiple cars involved in another big hit. That was Ross Chastain. That looks like he actually went airborne. 77 plowed into him, and you can see 3 wide and just a little bit too close. Parker Kligerman and Landon Castle also involved, and there's that big hit with the Spire Motorsports car. So some big hits taken. A few cars going to be out after this one, and we were right. William Byron did have a problem. Car is going to blow up into a puff of smoke, and just under 20 laps in, 24 cars already going to be out of this one. Tough break for the second-year driver trying to find some consistency. Green flag flies once again. Kyle Larson able to get off of pit stops the fastest, and he'll lead the field. But Joey Logano quickly to his inside. Penske's already got 1 win this season. Brad Keselowski got the win at Atlanta. Now they're going to see if they can get a 2nd win in a row. We mentioned drivers that aren't running quite where they need to be. Daniel Suarez being one of those. You can see Daniel Hemrick right in front of him. Not a terrible surprise to see a rookie having a little bit of growing pains, but Daniel Suarez, obviously, his new ride, new team. I believe he's still just outside of the playoffs at the moment. He's got to get some speed and quick, especially because Stewart-Haas Racing got all 4 of their cars in the playoffs last season. You can see Kyle Busch, we mentioned, he won the first 2 races of this weekend, got the Truck Series victory. came back from a tire problem in the first stage of the Xfinity race. Now trying to see what he can do to hold off the rest of the field, but Joey Logano on his inside. Going to make that a little bit more tough. Martin Truex Jr. is also starting to work his way back up the field. Currently not, well actually he is inside the top 10, just barely though, as he was the runner-up to Brad Keselowski at the Atlanta race. I'm trying to see if he can bring that speed he had at Furniture Row Racing over to Joe Gibbs Racing. Putting up a solid performance so far today. Denny Hamlin, another Joe Gibbs Racing driver, already won a Daytona 500. He is basically locked into the playoffs, but he is not satisfied with just staying with his one victory. He went the entire last season without one, trying to see if he can go just one race in between to get another victory. And obviously that will help with playoff points if he's able to get that victory, and he's going to make the move to the inside of Larson. And Hendrick Motorsports continues to just struggle today, as now the 88 car is in the rear of the field, behind guys like Suarez, Reagan. Obviously, some of those guys need to be faster, but you got McLeod and Preece up there. Guys, they really should be beaten. Logano and Larson now with a little bit of a breakaway, with the rest of the pack just behind them. But Logano's not playing nice as he makes a dive bomb move into the inside of Larson. But as you can see, when this cars go side by side, it really drags them back, and Kyle Busch taking advantage, and immediately within 2 turns gets to the back of Logano and gets by Larson. Ryan Preece is not having a great day today, and he had been running solidly for both these first 2 races and had a great Daytona 500. Was okay in the Atlanta race, but then obviously ran into the back of BJ McLeod. That really killed his chances. Kevin Harvick, giving a little update on him as he is the defending race winner. Trying to make his way back up as Team Penske holding the top 2 spots. Now it's kind of a 5-car freight train. Probably looking to make moves eventually. And look at this 3-wide situation. Chase Elliott forcing it down there on the inside. Almost got into Kurt Busch. Austin Dillon being on the outside, and the 3 car is going to stay on the position. These guys are staying very aggressive, even though we are over 200 laps away from the end of the race. Jimmy Johnson's going to try the same thing, going to the inside of Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson. Now the question is, can he make it stick? And it doesn't look like that far inside line is quite the groove you need. That outside line's been pretty nice to some of these drivers, getting momentum, obviously with the reduced horsepower and the drafting. Gaining momentum is going to be very helpful. Paul Menard trying to make up some points, and obviously a very solid race car underneath him, but had some pretty bad luck at Daytona, getting involved in that crash with Matt DiBenedetto and the big one, as he runs along with a couple of drivers that are currently in the top 16, Ryan Newman and Eric Jones. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has kind of been the surprise of the season in how well he's been able to handle the new aero package. Way up there in the standings at the moment. Trying to see what he can do today, but currently not too well. A little bit further back in the field, and you can see just in front of him Kurt Busch, the Las Vegas native, trying to put on a good performance in front of his hometown crowd, but unfortunately for him, he's not quite getting up to speed. Can't stay with that lead pack. Chip Ganassi Racing only got one good car in the field at the moment. And now we're going to see lap traffic finally play a factor. Denny Hamlin finally catches up to Joey Gase. Going to try to go to his inside. These lapped cars are going to probably play a factor as we keep going on. Also, a part of those drivers that are going to get a lap down, Matt Tifft, really struggling in that third front row motorsports machine. Can't really tell if this is the driver or the team, but obviously something's got to change because they are not running fast so far this season. Obviously, crashing at Daytona is not going to help anything. Going to see some early pit stops here. Joey Logano and Kyle Larson. First 2 to come down. Looks like we got another one in the back, Eric Almirola. Now Denny Hamlin going to come down. Had been leading at one time, but that's been passed on to Kevin Harvick and Brad Keselowski leading the field now. And we'll see Keselowski also coming down. That will leave Kevin Harvick on the track for a little bit longer. Harvick trying to see if track position will help him out and keep him away from the lead pack. And a little bit more pack trying to come down for pit stops. And Chase Elliott gets into Corey LaJoie and collects Daniel Hemrick in a multi-car accident off of turn 4 as they try to come down for pit stops. And another problem for a Hendrick Motorsports machine. So 9 crunches it into the wall. Tried to find his way down to the inside. Probably thought Corey LaJoie was going to. And more problems for Hendrick Motorsports as the 48 gets into the number 8 car as he was coming down for his pit stop. And that is huge damage to Jimmy Johnson. Even more problems off pit stops. Ryan Preece, for the second week in a row, gonna get into the back of a Rick Ware racing machine. This time it's Cody Ware, though. Huge incidents here on one cycle of pit stops. And this is going to be a little bit more hectic of a race. Some cars going a lap down. Denny Hamlin now leading the way. And Kyle Busch with a penalty. And he's going to have to make a pass-through. No real confirmation on what that penalty was, but he is coming down. And he's going to have to serve it. Probably going to go a lap down in the process. David Reagan has made a great recovery. He kind of fell back in the field. Looks like pit strategy really helped him out, but now he's getting kind of held up by his teammate Matt Tiffs, who's already gone a lap down. Kyle Larson makes his way to the front, passing Denny Hamlin, but Corey LaJoie coming up. He was involved in that incident, and he is extremely slow as Denny Hamlin's going to blow right by the 32 car, and now the entire field being held up by the slow car of LaJoie, and now holding up both lanes as Larson trying to find his way around. Going to his inside, isn't a car on the lead lap either, and look at the gap that Hamlin's occurred. Almost a full turn for the 11 car. Unfortunately for him with this new package, it's going to be very little time before the entire field catches up. You can see Logano's coming back to his bumper, and he's riding the contention for the lead again. Exactly what they were trying to aim for as they were creating this new package, trying to make sure that the racing stayed close. The leader doesn't get a huge advantage, although it does seem that the best cars are still going to win the races in the end. Martin Truex Jr. said he was making his way up the field and now a little bit slipping back. Meanwhile, Austin Dillon, he found that speed again. It looked like the RCR car was going to struggle. The 8 car obviously has. As you can see, he's holding up Denny Hamlin. And now he's going to slip to the outside line, but that's where his teammate is. And that's going to hold up the 3 a little bit. But obviously, Dillon has found that speed once again after it seemed like both of those cars had lost it. Ryan Newman, got to mention him because obviously RVR is going through some big changes. Bringing in that veteran to replace Trevor Bayne and Matt Kenseth not coming back for the whole season. Newman put himself in the top 16 at the moment and trying to see if he can put up a good performance as he runs into the top 10 at the moment. Now Larson trying to get back to the bumper of Denny Hamlin, but once again LaJoie getting in the way, and this is just really bad for the rest of this field as long as LaJoie can't get out of the way. Chris Buescher has been running very solidly. He's up there in the top 10. JTG Doherty Racing is really a team that stepped it up this season. They've just got to get the finishing results to match it. Chris Buescher coming off a top 10 at Atlanta. And we've talked about all of the struggles that Hendrick Motorsports has had this whole race. And here's another one. Chase Elliott. You can see he's getting passed by Joey Gase. I'm not sure if that's really for position, because I think Gase is a lap down, Elliott isn't, but that really shouldn't be a speed at which Elliott would get passed. And problem right here is LaJoie, once again in the way, gets up into Austin Dillon, really stacks up the field as Larson and Keselowski were on the bottom apron. And they keep it clean, but man, that 32 is getting in the way, and a wonder as to how NASCAR hasn't given him a penalty and sent him back to the garage, because can't believe that he is meeting minimum speed. Paul Menard kind of benefited from that, got away a little bit. You can see that a pack kind of formed after that LaJoie incident. Brad Keselowski right in the middle of it, and trying to fight his way around Jimmy Johnson and Alex Bowman. I don't believe either of those two cars are on the lead lap right now. And Eric Almirola suffering a mechanical problem. Not one that's going to take him out of the race, but he is definitely slowing down, and he's going to have to take it to the pits right here to get that thing fixed. So the 10 car is not going to be a winner in this one, even though it seems like he was kind of fading back from the field. But as we've seen, cars can really get pushed back and then back out front quickly. And now LaJoie and also Cody Ware in the way. Denny Hamlin's just going to say, well, take it down the pit lane. Kyle Larson going to join, as well as Joey Logano. Trying to see if they can incorporate an early pit strategy, but it's not going to work. Caution flag flies, but it's for debris. No incident on the racetrack. And that is going to put those 3 drivers that just came in bad position. And again, another mechanical problem. Chase Elliott. His car blows up. He'd been involved in that pit lane incident earlier on, and the speed definitely showed that it slowed down as he got passed up by cars he probably didn't need to be passed up by. But finally, the car gave in. And now Chris Buescher is the one that's out front. You can see that he's the 4th car back in line. That's because the 3 drivers that pitted early and eventually got lapped stayed out, tried to get their lap back, but that means they're on the tail end of the lead lap and trying to stay from going a lap down. Kurt Busch, we mentioned that he was kind of struggling. They're currently trying to fight their way back into the top 10, just behind Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And Kyle Busch, after that penalty, he is still fighting his way back to the front, trying to get his lap back. He remains in this lead pack, so if he can stay out front of the leader as a caution comes out, he can get that lap back, but at the moment, still trying to find his way to there. Daniel Suarez, his struggles have kind of diminished now. He's running in the top 10, trying to see what he can do to get around as many cars as he can. Actually got around Paul Menard right there. David Reagan, he is still contending up here in the top 10. As you can see that outside line slowing down, and it's Corey LaJoie once again. Man, that 32 car has been a complete nuisance to the rest of the field. Now Brad Keselowski currently running 2nd. Kevin Harvick has broken away by a huge margin. Joey Logano not on the lead lap, but hoping that his teammate can give him a little push, help him get back to the 4, or at least separate him from the rest of the field. And Kevin Harvick's going to have his own problems as he approaches Daniel Hemrick along with Kyle Larson, who's already a lap down. And you can see the 2 and the 22 starting to make their push as they get around Corey LaJoie. And now Keselowski heading into turn 1, trying to see if he can make the move. Trying to get around Kyle Larson and then to Harvick. And with a good bit of momentum off the turn, gets to the inside of the 42. But it's not going to last very long. Back to LaJoie. Harvick got around him, but Keselowski and the rest of the field did not. Because there was a bit like 6 cars right there. Kyle Busch kind of squeezed right there in the middle. But Keselowski would catch up and make a move to the inside. Keselowski, the winner at Atlanta, and the previous winner of this racetrack. Kevin Harvick, the driver that won this race 1 year ago. Those two side by side as we're under 100 laps left in this race. And Logano trying to see if he can get his lap back underneath his teammate. But these two guys, they've got to work on their teamwork here and decide who's going to get what lane, as Hemrick kind of holds both of them up. And Paul Menard looked like he was having a solid day. He was inside the top 10, almost the top 5, but his engine's going to expire. Another mechanical problem. It's about the 3rd or 4th we've seen today. Now, because those 3 drivers that pitted early stayed out, they have to pit a little earlier once again. Logano and Larson in. Martin Truex Jr. is going to come down as well. His performance has kind of been lacking compared to the rest of the field. Going to see if he can get a little bit of an advantage by coming in early. Harvick's going to give up 2nd place. Kyle Busch stays out, trying to see if a caution flag can come out at a convenient time. However, that caution is not going to fly, and as they cycle out, Keselowski will be back in the lead. Kevin Harvick should come back out to 2nd. And a little bit of a problem here. Daniel Hemrick gets split by 2 cars and then gets into Eric Jones. spins in turn 1, and Alex Bowman, nowhere to go, hits him right in the quarter panel. Kind of gives him a whiplash. Those are the only 2 cars that get the big hit. Green flag flies once again, under 50 laps to go in this race. Keselowski leads the way. Ryan Blaney, haven't mentioned his name basically all day, but he's found his way up to 2nd place. However, Kevin Harvick, who we've seen lead some laps today, going to get to the inside of the 12. Has to chase down the 2, who's kind of got a little bit of lap traffic in front of him. Or rather behind him. And in between the 2 and the 4. Austin Dillon, his speed was found once again, and now he's maintaining his spot in this top 3, trying to see what he can do to get the victory for RCR. Ryan Blaney found his way to the inside. Clint Bowyer, we haven't mentioned him too much today, and that's because he hasn't been much of a factor today. Struggling to keep up on pace, staying behind Ryan Newman at the moment, but really not a lot of contenders in front of him in good visibility. Kyle Busch trying to make his way to the inside. Kevin Harvick tries to take advantage. 3 wide through 1 and 2. Busch is just trying to get his lap back, but Harvick's going to try to see if he can use that to his advantage and get the lead, and it looks like it's going to work on that inside line. And then Corey LaJoie going to come back in the factor, but Kevin Harvick sweeps right by him. And then as Keselowski takes the lead again, he goes right by LaJoie. As the laps wind down, they keep going right by that 32. But then the run gets longer and the 2 car starts to extend his lead. It starts by getting away from the 4 car and then away from both cars. White flag flies for Brad Keselowski. 1 week ago, he won at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And after all of this lead swapping and pack driving, the 2 cars kind of found a breakaway. It's gotten past the 0-0 of Landon Castle. Looks like he's put Kurt Busch a lap down. But man, the 2 cars just found his groove. And he's able to get away from Austin Dillon and Kevin Harvick. For the 2nd race in a row at Las Vegas, Brad Keselowski going to take the checkered flag. And that's 2 races in a row. Keselowski went on a streak last season, late in the regular season into the playoffs, but today, this is his race as he adds to his playoff point total. So Brad Keselowski going to win the race. Austin Dillon and Kevin Harvick round out the podium in a race that was dominated by Fords apparently. 8 of the top 10, all with the blue oval. How about a surprise comeback for Clint Bowyer? He was not in the top 10 when we last looked at him, and he made it all the way back up to 5th. And in fact, there's a few other surprises. How about David Reagan and Michael McDowell both getting inside the top 10 as they start to show that front row, at least those first 2 cars really showing the speed. 14 cars in total stayed on the lead lap. Kurt Busch was the first to lap down. You can see that he ended up going that lap down in the final laps of the race. After his penalty, Kyle Busch was able to pull it back to 16th place, but obviously not going to be too satisfactory for the Joe Gibbs team, as they got 3 of their 4 drivers here in just the top 20. A couple of days to forget for drivers like Eric Almirola, who had a little bit of a mechanical problem, and Jimmy Johnson, who had an incident on pit lane that required some extensive repair work. And here are all of the drivers that ended up crashing out or blowing up. Alex Bowman, Daniel Hemrick, Paul Menard, Chase Elliott, William Byron, some drivers that really had some higher expectations, and days did not go their way. That is it for this episode of NR2003 Predicts. Hope you'll enjoy the race, and we'll see you next time.